Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. All right, so watch shopping in Nakano. In that video, there was a comment yesterday. Hey, by the way, get ready to go on a watch ride. All right, so this comment was from W space RONG space name. Wrong name. And he writes, I would rather buy a Swiss-made clone than buy the real thing. Honestly, you can't justify the price when you started from the bottom of the bottom and move your way up with blood, sweat, and tears. Swiss-made clones are so good you can use the real parts in there. And it's only at 10% the real one price. It's that good. Just my 2 cents. If you want to buy the real brand watch, go for it. Whatever gives you the satisfaction. Cheers. You know, when I saw this comment for the first time, I thought it was a regular dude and you know, just respectfully disagreed with sort of the way I see watches and see the Rolex brand, and, you know, no harm done. I wrote back to him, I said, what do you mean by Swiss-made clones? Post a link to some examples, please. So that's what I wrote back. And he wrote back an hour later or so, just search it in Google. There are a few manufacturers who make Rolex clone with Swiss certified caliber. And that is clone, not clones. We'll get to that in a second. So I wrote back, I said, right, I found it. So do you have one of these? Which ones? And he wrote, I don't. My friend got one, a Rolex Datejust. I'm reading these emails, these comments exactly like he wrote them. I'm not correcting anything. So if my grammar seems a bit off, then that's what it is. A Rolex Datejust. It's really nice, and the box presentation is just about real. I have seen the real one. I couldn't find any difference. The second marker is smooth as well. I have read up on this. There are articles on this how perfectly cloned this watches are. Okay. So, all right. So I did Google these, and all right, link in the description, but look, don't get out your credit card. All right, just check it out. This is for educational purposes. I am not promoting these, and the only reason I'm putting this link in is just so you know what I'm talking about, all right? I think you're going to get screwed if you whip out your credit card, quite frankly, because first let's talk about the site, okay? And it's swisstime.something. Again, check it out if you want to. Link in the description. I do not endorse this site, and I think it's sketchy as all get out, but it looks like a legit site. And according to the site, these aren't fakes, these are clones. And they make them in Switzerland, they make them in Geneva. They take a real watch and they take it apart, and each part they clone, and they measure it and use lasers to clone these parts. And essentially the entire watch, they use 904L steel, like Rolex. And you're essentially getting the very same watch. Even the movements are the same, and they're branded. And really the only possible way, according to the site, of somebody really knowing it's a fake is if you take it in and they check the number at Rolex. Talks about even jewelers will be fooled by this. And they've got a lot of very impressive photographs. Now, when I first saw this site, it scared the hell out of me. And I thought, okay, the gray market, when it comes to ceramics, it's over. It's over. There's no way to compete with this. And unless you buy something at an AD, the chances of getting screwed are great. So I thought, well, this confirms it. Okay, I'm more of a vintage man than anything, but it made me question some of the watches that I saw, perhaps in Nakano. Now, I did a little bit more research, and a lot of people who were foolish enough to buy this watch, to buy these watches, they've got many different kinds, never got their watches. All right, they used a credit card number, or they wired money, and months went by, no contact, no emails. No emails were answered. So it appears that this is a scam, right? And it totally makes sense, because there's no possible way this outfit would be able to exist in Switzerland, in Geneva, right next to Rolex. The fact that they had 904L steel, ridiculous. And the pictures, as impressive as they are, they swear is 100% their own pictures. Well, I think they're lying, okay? So these are pictures that are snagged of real watches, and so you're actually looking at the real watch, right? In the fine print, it says, these are novelties, and you got to kind of promise to, not pass it off as a real Rolex. Well, I think the fine print kind of sells it a little bit, because somebody buying one of these watches, well, they might really want to pretend they have a Rolex. They might really think that this kind of gives them just the same piece, but at 10% of the price. But I think a fair amount of people buying this are looking to flip it. They're looking to trick some people, and they're looking to take their $1,500 investment, and that's, I think, what the BLRO goes for, and turn that into 10 plus grand. And if you've got this site that on one hand says, hey, it's for novelty purposes, and when you order, you can't pass it off as an original, but hey, it'll fool jewelers. Well, there's a lot of people that are looking to pull those kind of scams and eBay scams, and so this is a site, it appears, to scam those scammers and to scam those people who really think that they're going to get a cloned watch. Now, if you do get a watch, and you may, it's probably going to be clearly a fake. Now, what makes this so believable is that it seems possible in this day and age with certain technologies and lasers. It makes sense that you could clone the pieces of a watch and put it together and really have almost the same watch, the same movement. Everything's the same. The processes are the same. And that's what sells it. And if you kind of want to believe it, I think it's easy to believe that technology has taken us there. Now, in the future, it really might. And sites in other countries might pop up and really offer these I guess you could classify them as clones, but nobody's making 904L steel clones. They're not doing it in Switzerland, and it appears that when you do give them your credit card number, you're not going to get a watch. You're giving them $1,500, and they're not going to give you squat. And there's not a lot of recourse, because who do you go to and say that, I didn't get my fake Rolex, right? So I think they're scamming the scammers, and if you're dumb enough to take out your credit card and buy a $1,500 watch and think you're really getting kind of the same thing as what Rolex has to offer, maybe you deserve it. But there are probably some people who just think this is a deal and a kind of a cheaper way to go and a more sensible way to go. And hey, it's right next door to Rolex. The more you really think about it, the crazier it seems that this operation is legit and that they can actually do what they claim to do. So back to my comment from wrong name. So I started looking at this email again, this comment, and I thought, I think this guy works on the inside. I don't think he's an advocate of this. I don't think he has one of these watches. I don't think his friend has one of these watches. I don't think his friend ever got one of these watches. I don't think he's seen them, and I'm much more convinced that he's never seen a real Datejust to really be able to compare the two. I could be wrong, but one thing that was a tip-off is the hinky English, okay? And look, a lot of people are not native speakers, and that's fine, but, you know, he strategically places in very colloquial phrases like "just my 2 cents." He writes, "if you wanna buy," he doesn't say "want to," but he says "wanna," and that's a way of speaking, right? We say, "Oh, I want to go there," but we don't often write like that. But sometimes people think, well, that's the way to write, to like kind of look like you're more of a native speaker. So I'm not going to go through, and I'm not going to point out the idiosyncrasies that makes me think that he is not a native speaker. And that doesn't mean anything really, but if you click on his name, it takes you to his YouTube account, and somebody using that account was checking out recipes and liking those videos, and those videos were in Bangladeshi. And in fact, this guy he actually has a video up, and the title is a bit weird, and it has to do with a lock. I'll put his YouTube page in the description of this video, and you can check it out. So it appears that he or somebody associated with that account is Bangladeshi and lives in Bangladesh, and that's fine. I'm not saying that non-native speakers can't have Rolexes. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that operations like that Swiss Time site, they tend to operate in countries that have corruption, poverty, and issues with scams. And it is possible that he kind of threw this out here sort of to rustle up some customers. You know, people come to that video and they think, well, yeah, I could go to Nakano and pay these really high prices, or I can go this route. This kind of sounds like a small thing. He never actually gives the site that he's talking about, but he says Google it, and apparently there are a couple of different sites, and they're all connected. They use the same pictures, and it's basically it appears to be like a competition. Oh, you get the clone from this site or this site, but it's the same people behind it. And I was easily able to find what he was hinting at. So I have a feeling that he was fishing for customers, and it really does look like a legitimate sort of comment that somebody just differing of opinions, and somebody sort of who's okay with a counterfeit watch, and there's people like that, and he doesn't look like he's spruiking it. He's really careful about that. He's just an impressed guy. He just doesn't see why you would want to get a legitimate Rolex. Well, the last interaction, he talks about these articles. There are articles on how perfectly cloned this watches are. Well, I wrote and I said, what's a link to the articles? Radio silence for the last 12 hours. So he's out. I have a feeling he's connected to this. I don't think he's trying to do anything other than steer my viewers, and possibly even me, to consider one of these watches, right? And again, you're not going to get the watch, and if you do, it's not going to be those pictures. Those pictures you see are the real legit thing. Pictures taken, right, from Rolex, or taken from people who were taking pictures of their real Rolex and posted as if this site posted and they say they have a photographer and the 100%. I mean, look, it's a pack of lies, right? But it's really kind of convincing at first, and it's odd that I read not as a potential customer, but sort of with this dread of, wow, it's come to this. The market's this dangerous. Well, we're not there yet. Okay, possibly in the future we'll become that dangerous, but we're not there yet. It appears to be a scam. And look, when it comes to fake Rolexes, let's play a what if. What if this was real? I mean, what if you could get a BLRO for $1,500 and came box papers? I mean, everything looked legit. In fact, it's made out of the same stuff, and it's COSC standards. You know, that's what they say. You're basically getting a Rolex watch 100% the same, but it's just not by Rolex. Well, I mean, would I go that route? If this was real, would I be ready to get a BLRO at $1,500? I wouldn't. I tell you why. Because you got to live with that watch. And look, one thing about these watches is there's an accomplishment in getting it. It's not just having something that fools people and not even something that can fool yourself. It's going through the process. And I would say over half the fun of having a Rolex is the accomplishment that you feel when you get it. It's like solving a challenging video game in a way. It's the hunt, it's the acquisition, it's the time and the money that you put into getting it. And that's what makes it satisfying. And it's a beautiful piece you're going to get, but it's the satisfaction. It's the acquisition and the blood and the sweat and the tears, was just kind of some things that he talked about that goes into it. Hopefully not too many tears, maybe just a little bit of sweat. That's what makes it awesome, and that's what makes the acquisition of a new piece so satisfying. And that's why finding a Rolex on the street might sound like a good idea, but it's just not gonna do it like going out and earning it and making it happen. And that just doesn't go for Rolex. It goes for any really high-end watch that turns you on. So check out the description, and I'll post this conversation I had with Wrong Name, and you can check out this site. Be careful out there. I don't think you need to be careful about, getting one of these watches. I don't think they exist yet, but yet another reason to steer clear of the scammers looking for customers who themselves aren't on the up and up. What do you think of this? Pretty interesting stuff. Just give me a genuine Rolex and I'm happy. All right, take care. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Hey guys, would you like for me to take a look at your collection and tell you what I think? Well, if so, you can make it happen. I bring you the collection analysis for 50 USD, PayPal to me, link in the description to my PayPal account. I'll make a video just for you talking about your collection. Now, email me at austininjapan@gmail.com. And I'd like pictures of your watches to put in the video, and tell me about each watch. How much did you pay for it? What do you like about it? Why did you buy it? Tell me a little bit about yourself and where you want to take the collection, and I'll make a video just for you. I will look at it through my lens and a more general lens and talk about what I would have done, and what I would do, and what I'd do going forward. I'm not just going to focus on whether your pieces are valuable or whether you could flip them for cash. I want to look at the collection as a whole and give you my impressions. So if you're interested in a collection analysis, we're open for business. Email me.